Jai-Ho kicked a small rock along the dirt path as he walked. He was bored. The grown-ups were all busy with their work in the colony, and none of the other kids wanted to play today. New Busan was a nice place to live, but sometimes it felt too small for an 8-year-old boy with a big imagination. "Be home before dark," his mother had said. Jai-Ho looked up at the sky. The 2 suns of this planet were still high. He had plenty of time to explore. The edge of the settlement was marked by a line of tall poles with blinking lights. The grown-ups always said not to go past them. "It's not safe," they would say. But Jai-Ho had watched the forest beyond the poles for months now. Nothing bad ever came out of it. Today, he decided to be brave. He looked around to make sure no one was watching, then quickly stepped past the boundary poles. The air felt different here, cooler. The strange purple trees of this world grew thicker beyond the colony's edge. Their leaves made soft sounds in the wind, almost like whispers. "Hello, trees," Jai-Ho said, smiling. He often talked to things that couldn't answer back. His father said it was a waste of time, but his mother said it showed he had a good heart. Jai-Ho walked deeper into the forest. The purple trees gave way to taller blue ones with bark that sparkled a little when sunlight hit it. He had never been this far before. A small animal like a 6-legged rabbit hopped across his path. Jai-Ho laughed and tried to follow it. That's when he saw something strange between the trees ahead, something that didn't look natural. It was a structure that seemed to be made of crystal. It rose from the ground like a small house, but with no doors or windows that Jai-Ho could see. The crystal walls were not clear like glass. They shimmered with colors that moved and changed as Jai-Ho walked closer. "Wow," he whispered. The colony had been on this planet for 20 years, since before Jai-Ho was born. His mother often talked about the Silent Ones, the aliens who lived here but never spoke to humans. Was this their home? As Jai-Ho got closer, he noticed shapes moving inside the crystal walls. They were hard to see clearly, like shadows underwater. They moved slowly, gracefully. Any other child might have been scared. Many adults would have run back to the colony to report what they'd found. But Jai-Ho simply sat down on a smooth rock near the crystal structure. He folded his legs under him and looked at the moving shapes with interest. "Hello," he said. "My name is Jai-Ho. I'm from the human colony." He pointed back toward New Busan. "That's where I live with my mom and dad. Mom studies plants and animals. Dad builds things." The shadows inside the crystal seemed to pause their movement. Were they listening? Jai-Ho kept talking. "I'm not supposed to be here, but I was bored, and no one wanted to play with me today." He sighed. "Do you ever get bored? Do you have friends to play with?" The colors in the crystal walls shifted from blues to soft purples. The shadows moved closer to the wall nearest Jai-Ho. "I like your house," Jai-Ho said. "It's pretty. Our houses are made of metal and plastic, not as nice as crystal." He reached out a small hand toward the wall, but didn't touch it. To his surprise, a patch of the crystal wall changed color where his hand was closest. It turned a warm golden color, like honey in sunlight. Jai-Ho gasped. "Can you see me? Are you saying hello back?" The golden color spread, forming a shape that looked almost like a child's drawing of a hand. Jai-Ho smiled wide. "Hi, I'm so happy to meet you." Inside the crystal, the shadows gathered, watching the small human child who spoke to them without fear or complicated equipment, the first human to simply talk to them as if they were friends. And for the first time in 20 years of human settlement, the Silent Ones considered answering back. Dr. Yunjai looked at the time display on her wall and frowned. Jai-Ho should have been home an hour ago. The smaller sun was already setting, painting the sky with orange light. "Do-hyun," she called to her husband. "Have you seen Jai-Ho?" Do-hyun looked up from his work table where he was fixing a broken drone. "Not since lunch. Isn't he playing with the Kim boy? I called Sue's parents. He's not there." Yunjae put down her tablet. For 20 years, she had studied the Silent Ones, the mysterious beings who shared this planet, but never communicated with humans. Right now, though, her scientist mind was pushed aside by her mother's heart. "I'm going to look for him," she said, grabbing her jacket. Do-hyun stood up quickly. "I'll come with you." They asked their neighbors to help. Soon, 10 people were searching the colony for Jae-ho. When they couldn't find him inside the settlement, Yeonji felt her heart beat faster with worry. "The boundary poles," she said. "What if he went past them?" Ta-woo, the colony administrator, shook his head. "We've told all the children many times not to go there." "He's 8, Do-hyun said. "Boys that age don't always listen." Ta-woo sighed but agreed to organize a proper search party. 20 minutes later, 15 people with lights and communication devices headed into the forest beyond the boundary poles. Yeonji moved quickly through the trees, calling Jae-ho's name. The strange plants of this alien world looked different in the fading light. As a xenobiologist, she normally found them fascinating. Now they just seemed like things that could be hiding her son. "Jae-ho," she called again. "Dr. Yeonji." One of the searchers waved from ahead. "I think I found something." Yeonji ran forward, pushing through the blue bark trees. She stopped suddenly when she saw what was ahead. A crystal structure stood among the trees. It was one of the buildings of the Silent Ones, the being she had spent her career trying to understand. In all her research, she had never found one this close to the human settlement. But what made her gasp was the small form lying on the ground near the crystal wall. Jae-ho was asleep, curled up as if in his own bed. Around him, small objects glowed with soft blue light. They looked like stones but were perfectly round and smooth, things that were clearly made, not found. "Jae-ho." Yeonji rushed to her son and knelt beside him. She touched his face gently. Jae-ho's eyes opened slowly. He smiled when he saw his mother. "Mom," he said sleepily, "I made new friends." "You scared us," she said, hugging him tight. "Why did you come out here alone?" "I wasn't alone," Jae-ho said, sitting up. He pointed to the crystal structure. "The star people were here. They talked to me." Do-hyun joined them, relief clear on his face when he saw Jae-ho was safe. "Star people?" he asked. Yeonji shook her head slightly at her husband. "The Silent Ones," she whispered. "He means the Silent Ones." "But they did talk," Jae-ho insisted, "not with mouths. But in my head, they showed me pictures and feelings." He picked up one of the glowing round objects. "They gave me these." Tae-woo approached and looked at the objects with narrow eyes. "We should take these back to the lab," he said. "They could be dangerous." "They're gifts," Jae-ho said firmly. "The star people said they've been waiting for someone who could hear them." He looked at his mother with bright eyes. "They've been trying to talk to grown-ups for years, but grown-ups don't listen right." The search party looked at each other. Some smiled kindly at Jae-ho's imagination. Others looked nervous. Yeonji helped Jae-ho stand up. "Let's get you home," she said gently. "You can tell us all about it there." As they walked away, Jae-ho looked back at the crystal structure. The walls flashed once with golden light, like a goodbye. Jae-ho smiled and waved. None of the adults noticed. None except Yeonji, who stopped for just a moment, her scientific mind racing with new questions about the being she had studied for so long. 3 days after finding Jae-ho in the forest, strange things began to happen in the Pak family home. At breakfast, Jae-ho was drawing symbols on his tablet, curved lines and shapes that looked like nothing his parents had seen before. When Do-hyun asked what they were, Jae-ho said, "It's how the star people write." Later that day, Yeonji found Jae-ho sitting on his bed making unusual sounds. They weren't words from any human language. They rose and fell in patterns that sounded almost like music, but not quite. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Practicing," Jae-ho said simply. "The star people want me to learn their song talk." Yeonji sat beside her son. As a scientist who studied alien life, she was trained to observe without judgment. But as a mother, she was worried. "Jae-ho," she said carefully. Did something happen in the forest that you haven't told us about? Jai-ho looked at her with clear eyes. I told you. The star people talked to me. He pointed to the blue round objects that now sat on his shelf. Yunji had tested them and found nothing harmful, so she let him keep them. They gave me these to help me remember. Just then, one of the round objects rolled off the shelf by itself. It didn't fall to the floor. Instead, it moved through the air in a slow curve and landed gently on Jai-ho's lap. Yunji gasped. How did that happen? Jai-ho smiled. I asked it to come to me. He held the round object in his small hands. The star people can move things with their thoughts. They're teaching me how. That night, after Jai-ho was asleep, Yunji and Do-hyun talked in low voices. Something happened to him out there, Do-hyun said. This isn't normal. I know, Yunji agreed. I'm going to run more tests on those objects tomorrow. She paused. But what if he's telling the truth? What if the Silent Ones really did communicate with him? Do-hyun shook his head. People have tried to talk to them for 20 years. Why would they suddenly speak to a child? The next day, Yunji took the blue objects to her lab. She placed one under a scanner and was surprised by what she found. The object emitted a weak energy field that changed its pattern when touched. Fascinating, she whispered. She called a colleague who studied brain patterns. Together, they ran a test with Jai-ho. They put sensors on his head and asked him to talk to one of the blue objects. The screen showed Jai-ho's brain activity changing in unusual ways. When the blue object moved across the table without being touched, the pattern spiked. I've never seen anything like this, said her colleague. It's as if the object is responding to specific neural patterns in Jai-ho's brain. Yunji sat down, her mind racing. After 20 years of failed attempts to communicate with the Silent Ones, could it really be this simple? Had they been trying to talk to humans all along, but in a way adults couldn't understand? That evening, she found Jai-ho in his room. The blue objects were floating in a circle above his bed. Jai-ho, she said, I think I believe you now. Jai-ho smiled. The star people said you would. They said you've been trying to hear them for a long time. Can you show me how to talk to them? Yunji asked. Jai-ho shook his head. They say grown-up minds are too. He searched for the right word. Too stuck. Too full of other things. He reached out and took his mother's hand. But they gave me a gift so I can talk for them. They say I'm a bridge. Yunji felt a chill run down her spine. In all her years of research, she had never been this close to understanding the Silent Ones. What do they want to tell us? She asked. Jai-ho's face became serious. Important things. About what's coming. The blue objects stopped floating and landed gently on his bed. They say we need to listen soon, or it will be too late. Word spread quickly through the small colony. Jai-ho, the 8-year-old son of Dr. Yunji, could talk to the Silent Ones. Some people didn't believe it. Others wanted to see proof. Ta-woo, the colony administrator, called a meeting with Yunji and Do-hyun. This could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for, Ta-woo said. His eyes were bright with excitement. 20 years we've tried to understand them, to learn if they have technology we could use. My son is not a tool, Do-hyun said firmly. He's a child. Ta-woo smiled, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. Of course, but surely you understand how important this is. The Silent Ones must have advanced knowledge, space travel, energy production, weapons. Yunji crossed her arms. That's not what this is about. Earth Central would pay a lot for that kind of information. Ta-woo continued as if she hadn't spoken. Our little colony could become very important, very wealthy. No, Yunji said. Jai-ho's abilities are still developing. We don't fully understand what's happening to him. I won't let you use him for profit or power. Ta-woo's fake smile disappeared. I could order you to bring the boy in for official testing. Do-hyun stood up, his hands in fists. You could try. Meanwhile, Jiho sat in his classroom. The teacher was talking about Earth history, but Jiho wasn't listening. He was drawing more of the strange symbols on his tablet. They seemed to glow slightly as he made them. Meirei, the girl who sat next to him, watched with wide eyes. "What are those?" she whispered. "Star people writing," Jiho whispered back. "This one means sun. This means time. This big one means danger." The teacher noticed them talking. "Jiho, Meirei, please pay attention." That afternoon, Jiho sat with his parents and explained more about the Silent Ones. "They don't talk with sounds," he said. "They share feelings and memories." He touched his head. "Like pictures in your mind, but more." "How do you understand them?" Yunji asked. "The blue stones help," Jiho said. "They change how I think. The star people say human minds are like," he searched for the right word, "like houses with small doors. Their minds are like houses with no walls." Do-hyun frowned. "Are they changing your brain, son? Is that safe?" Jiho shrugged. "They say it's a gift. They'd been trying to talk to humans for a long time, but grown-up minds are too hard to reach." "Why now?" Yunji asked. "Why you?" "Because they need help," Jiho said. "Something bad is coming. Something that happens every 1,000 years. The star people have lived through it before, but we haven't." Just then, there was a knock at their door. When Do-hyun opened it, Ta-woo stood there with 2 security officers. "I'm sorry," Ta-woo said, not looking sorry at all. "But this is a matter of colony safety. The boy needs to come with us for testing." Do-hyun blocked the door. "We already said no." One of the officers put his hand on his stun baton. Yunji quickly moved to stand between them and Jiho. "This is wrong," she said. "Jiho is not a lab animal." Suddenly, all the lights in the house went out. The security officer's equipment stopped working too. In the darkness, the blue stones in Jiho's room began to glow brightly. Jiho's voice came from behind his parents. "The star people say you need to listen now. There's no more time." The blue stones floated into the room, circling above their heads. Jiho's eyes reflected their light as he spoke in a calm, clear voice. "They have been watching the sun. The big one. It's getting ready to." He paused, struggling for the right word. "To explode. Not all the way, but enough to hurt us." Ta-woo scoffed. "That's ridiculous. Our scientists would have detected." "They did," Jiho interrupted, "but they didn't understand what they saw. The star people understand. They've seen it before." As if on cue, the lights came back on. Jiho looked at each of the adults with serious eyes. "The star people want to help us," he said, "but first, you have to believe me." After Jiho's warning, Ta-woo left the Pak family home with his security officers. He didn't believe the boy's story about the sun, but just to be safe, he ordered the colony's astronomer, Sung-min, to check. The next morning, Sung-min called an emergency meeting. "I found something strange," he said, showing images of the larger sun on a screen. "There are unusual patterns on the sun's surface. Energy levels are rising in a way I've never seen before." Ta-woo frowned. "Is it dangerous?" "I don't know," Sung-min admitted. "Our equipment isn't made to study this kind of thing. But if these readings continue to increase..." He didn't finish his sentence. Do-hyun spoke up. "Jiho said the sun will send out a massive flare. He said it happens every 1,000 years." Some people in the room laughed. Ta-woo waved his hand for quiet. "Let's not jump to conclusions," he said. "These readings could be normal for this star system. We've only been here 20 years. The Silent Ones have been here much longer," Yunji pointed out. "If they're warning us through Jiho, we should listen. We need facts, not stories from a child who may be confused," Ta-woo said. Just then, the door opened and Jiho walked in. Everyone turned to look at him. "You need to see," Jiho said. He walked to the center of the room. The blue stones floated out of his pockets and began to spin in a circle above his head. A light shot out from the stones, creating a 3D image in the air. It showed the star system with its 2 suns. As everyone watched, the larger sun in the image bulged, and then sent out a massive wave of energy that engulfed the planet. "This is what's coming," Jiho said. "The star people have seen it before. They go underground when it happens." Some men stared at the image with wide eyes. "This matches what I'm seeing in my data, but much worse." "When?" asked Tawu, his voice no longer so confident. 63 days, Jiho answered. "The star people have been trying to warn us since they first saw humans arrive, but no one could hear them." "Why would they care if we live or die?" someone asked. Jiho looked at the person who spoke. "They don't think like that. They don't understand why humans let other humans die when they could help." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Taewoo stood up. "Even if this is true," he said, "our colony has strong shields. We've survived solar storms before." Jiho shook his head. "Not like this. The shields will fail. The star people have seen it happen to others who came before us." "Others?" Yunji asked, surprised. "There were other visitors to this planet." "Many," Jiho said. "Over thousands of years. The ones who listened to the star people lived. The ones who didn't, he didn't need to finish." Taewoo crossed his arms. "So what are we supposed to do? Abandon the colony? Hide in caves?" "The star people have shelters," Jiho said. "Deep underground. They've invited us to join them there until the danger passes." Laughter burst out from several people. "Live with the aliens. Underground. This is ridiculous." Jiho didn't seem upset by their reaction. He simply walked over to Sungmin and pointed to the astronomer's data tablet. "Look deeper," he said. "The star people say you'll find proof in the light patterns from 10 days ago." Sungmin looked uncertain but began typing on his tablet. After a few minutes, his face went pale. "There was a small flare 10 days ago," he said. "I missed it in the data. It matches the pattern Jiho showed in that image, like a warning shot before the main event." Now the room was completely silent. Yunji looked at her son with a mixture of pride and fear. He seemed so small standing there, carrying a message that could save them all. "We need to prepare," she said firmly. "Whether you believe Jiho or not, we can't take the risk of ignoring this warning." Taewoo looked around the room, then at the data on Sungmin's tablet. For the first time, he looked afraid. The news spread quickly through New Busan. A huge solar flare was coming in 2 months. It would destroy electronics and flood the planet with deadly radiation. The colony shields would not hold. Some believed Jiho's warning. Others did not. Taewoo called another meeting 1 week later. The colony's main hall was packed with people. Some looked scared. Others looked angry. "Let's all stay calm," Taewoo said. "We have studied the data more carefully. Yes, there is unusual activity on the larger sun. But our shields are designed to protect us from solar radiation, not from something this big," Sungmin argued. "My calculations show the shields will only last a few hours against a flare of this size. Then we'll strengthen them," Taewoo said. "We have time to prepare." Yunji stood up. "The Silent Ones have lived through this before. They know what works. They've offered us shelter in their underground network. And you want us to trust them?" A man shouted. "Aliens we barely understand." "My son understands them," Yunji said. "And they understand the danger better than we do." The room erupted in arguments. Half the colonists wanted to strengthen the shields and stay on the surface. The other half wanted to accept the Silent One's offer and go underground. Taewoo tried to regain control. "I am still the administrator of this colony. I say we stay and strengthen our defenses. Anyone who leaves the colony goes against my orders." Do-hyun stood up next. "This isn't about orders. It's about survival. My family will accept the Silent One's offer. Anyone who wants to join us is welcome." The colony was splitting in two. That night, Jeho sat with his parents at their kitchen table. 5 other families had joined them to plan their move to the underground shelters. "How do we even find these shelters?" asked one woman. Jeho picked up one of his blue stones. "The Star People will guide us. They're preparing space for us now. And we can trust them," asked another man. "How do we know this isn't a trap?" "The Star People don't think like that," Jeho said simply. "They don't understand why humans would trick other humans into danger." "When should we leave?" Do-hyun asked his son. "Soon," Jeho said. "The Star People say we need time to adjust to living underground before the big flare comes." The next day, Ta-woo ordered security officers to guard the colony boundaries. "No one leaves without permission," he announced. "This is for your safety." Eun-ji confronted him outside the administration building. "You can't keep people prisoner," she said. "They have the right to choose. They have the right to be protected from bad choices based on a child's imagination." Ta-woo replied, "I won't let you cause a panic and break apart this colony." "You're doing that yourself," Eun-ji said. That night, Jeho woke his parents in the dark. "We need to go now," he whispered. "The Star People say it's time." Do-hyun and Eun-ji quietly packed small bags with essential items. The other 5 families who had decided to join them did the same. They met at a quiet corner of the colony fence. Jeho held up his blue stones. They glowed softly, then floated forward and created a hole in the fence. No alarms went off. The security cameras didn't move. "The Star People are helping us," Jeho explained. "They're making the machines not see us." The group of 27 people, adults and children, slipped through the hole and into the forest. Jeho walked in front, following the floating blue stones like glowing guides. Behind them, they heard shouting. Someone had spotted them leaving. "Ta-woo will send people after us," Eun-ji said worriedly. "It's okay," Jeho said. "The Star People will protect us." As if in answer, a strange fog rose from the ground, thick and glowing faintly. It spread behind them, hiding their trail and blocking the view of anyone following. Ahead, through the trees, they could see the crystal structures of the Silent Ones glowing with welcome light. For the first time, one of the structures had an opening, a doorway, beckoning them inside. Jeho led the group of humans through the doorway of the crystal structure. Inside, they found not a small room, but a long tunnel that sloped gently downward. The walls glowed with soft blue light, showing the way. "It's beautiful," Myre whispered. She had come with her parents, who believed Jeho's warning. The tunnel went deeper and deeper underground. After walking for almost an hour, they reached a huge open space that made everyone gasp. It was an underground city. Crystal buildings rose from the floor of a vast cave. Pools of glowing blue water dotted the landscape. Strange plants with no leaves grew everywhere, giving off soft light. "The Star People live here?" Do-hyun asked in wonder. Jeho nodded. "They come down here whenever the big sun flares. They have for thousands of years." Shadowy figures moved among the crystal buildings. They were tall and thin, with long limbs that seemed to flow like water when they moved. Their bodies glowed faintly from within, pulsing with gentle light. "The Silent Ones," Eun-ji whispered. In 20 years of research, she had never seen them this clearly. One of the shadowy figures approached the group. It stopped a few feet away and raised a long, thin arm in what seemed like a greeting. Jeho stepped forward and made the strange singing sounds he had been practicing. The Silent One responded with similar sounds. "This is On," Jeho told the humans. "He is very old. He has seen the big sun flare many times." Eun-ji stepped forward and bowed slightly. "Thank you for helping us," she said. On didn't speak with words, but everyone in the group suddenly felt a wave of warm welcome wash over them. It was like feeling someone else's emotions inside your own head. "He's talking to us," a man exclaimed. Jeho smiled. "The Star People are trying to help you hear them. It's easier down here," away from the sun's noise. Over the next 2 days, more humans from the colony arrived in small groups. Some had slipped away in the night. Others had simply walked out when they realized Ta Wu couldn't really stop them. The Silent Ones showed the humans where they could live. They had prepared crystal rooms with simple beds and furniture that seemed to grow right out of the floor. How did they know what we would need? Du Hyun asked as he touched a table that felt like smooth stone. They've been watching us for 20 years, Yunji reminded him. They learned quickly. By the end of the week, almost 100 humans had joined them underground. Most were families with children. The children adapted fastest to life with the Silent Ones. They learned to feel the emotional language faster than the adults. Jai-ho spent time with An and other Silent Ones each day. When he returned to his parents, he shared what he learned. The flare will come in 52 days now, he told them. It will last for almost 3 months. Then we can go back to the surface. What about the people who stayed? Yunji asked. Jai-ho looked sad. The star people keep trying to warn them. Some are starting to hear, a little bit. Maybe more will come. Some men, who had joined them on the 3rd day, set up equipment to monitor the sun from underground. The activity is increasing faster than I expected, he reported. Tai Wu needs to understand how serious this is. That night, something amazing happened. As the humans gathered to eat dinner, they began to feel gentle touches in their minds, like whispers of thought that weren't their own. Many adults who had never felt the Silent One's communication before suddenly could. I can feel them, Yunji said with tears in her eyes. After 20 years of trying to understand them, I can finally feel what they're saying. Jai-ho nodded happily. The star people say your minds are opening. Being underground helps. And he paused. They say being afraid makes it harder to hear them. Down here, you feel safer, so your minds are more open. Do-hyun suddenly stood up. I just got a feeling. A warning. He looked at Jai-ho. Was that from them? Jai-ho nodded, his face serious. The first small flare is coming tomorrow. Much bigger than the one before. The star people say it will damage the colony shields. Everyone looked worried. Some men checked his equipment and nodded grimly. They're right. We need to warn the others. The next day, the first flare hit. Even deep underground, some men's equipment detected it. The screens showed a massive wave of energy washing over the planet. The colony shields are holding for now, some men said, reading the data. But they're at 70% and dropping. Jai-ho sat with his blue stones floating around him. His eyes were closed as he listened to the Silent Ones. The star people say this is just the beginning, he told the others. The big flare is still coming. This small one is like the first rain before a flood. Do-hyun looked worried. We need to convince the rest of the colony to come down here. I'll go, said Yunji. Tai Wu will listen to me. No, Do-hyun said. It's too dangerous on the surface now. The star people say the radiation isn't too bad yet, Jai-ho said. But someone needs to go soon. Tomorrow will be too late. In the end, 10 adults volunteered to go back to the colony. Ji-ho insisted on going with them. After much argument, his parents agreed. The star people will protect him, Yunji told Do-hyun. And he's the only one who can truly convince Ta-wu. Before they left, An and 2 other Silent Ones approached Jai-ho. They surrounded him and placed their long, thin hands above his head, not quite touching him. Ji-ho began to glow with the same soft light that came from within the Silent Ones. What are they doing? Yunji asked. Giving me protection, Jai-ho said. And something else. He looked at his mother with serious eyes. They're making me stronger so I can help more people hear them. The group climbed back to the surface. The sky looked strange. The larger sun was surrounded by churning red clouds. The air felt hot and thick. When they reached the colony, they found chaos. The shields were flickering, and people were running around in panic. Equipment was failing, and the colony's power was unstable. Taiwu was in the control center, shouting orders as technicians tried to strengthen the shields. "You," he yelled when he saw Yunji and Jiho. "Come to say you were right." "We came to help," Yunji said calmly. "There's still time for everyone to reach the underground shelters. We're not abandoning the colony," Taiwu said stubbornly. "The shields will hold." Just then, an alarm blared. A technician looked up from his screen, his face pale. "Another flare is coming, much bigger than the last one." "How long?" Taiwu asked. "Minutes," the technician said. "Maybe 15. Taiwu finally looked afraid. He stared at the flickering shields visible through the window. "We can't evacuate everyone in 15 minutes. Jiho stepped forward. The blue stones floated out of his pockets and began to spin around him. The glow that the Silent Ones had given him grew brighter. "The Star People are coming to help," he said. Outside, crystal structures began to rise from the ground around the colony. They were smaller than the ones in the forest, but the same shimmering material. The Silent Ones emerged from them, dozens of them, their tall bodies moving gracefully despite the dangerous radiation. The colonists stared in amazement. Many had never seen the Silent Ones before. "Everyone needs to follow them," Jiho said, his voice stronger than usual. "They know the safe paths." Taiwu hesitated, then made his decision. "Everyone evacuate. Follow the Star People." The colony erupted into controlled chaos as people grabbed what they could carry and rushed outside. The Silent Ones moved among them, guiding groups toward the crystal structures. Jiho stood at the colony entrance, the blue stones spinning faster around him. As people ran past, many stopped and stared at him. The small boy glowing with alien light, creating a strange protective bubble that pushed back the dangerous radiation. "This way," he called. "Hurry." In the sky, the larger sun seemed to bulge. The radiation meters on the colony walls climbed into the red zone. The shields flickered once more, then failed completely. But by then, most of the colonists were already inside the crystal structures. The Silent Ones moved with purpose, guiding the humans to safety with gentle touches and calming emotional messages that even the most skeptical colonists could now feel. Yunji stood beside her son, watching as Taiwu finally passed them, heading toward the nearest crystal structure. He paused for a moment, looking at Jiho. "I was wrong," he said simply. Jiho nodded. "It's okay. The Star People understand being afraid." As the last colonists reached safety, the sky turned white with the beginning of the massive flare. Jiho raised his hands, and the protective bubble around him expanded, shielding the final group as they rushed to the nearest crystal structure. 3 months passed before it was safe to return to the surface. During that time, all the colony's people lived with the Silent Ones in their underground city. At first, many humans were afraid. Everything was strange. The food, the crystal homes, the way the Silent Ones moved and communicated. But day by day, things changed. The children learned fastest. Within weeks, most of them could feel the Silent Ones' thoughts clearly. They became helpers, explaining to the adults what the Silent Ones were saying. Jiho was the best translator, but he was no longer the only one. Mireille, who was 7, became almost as good as Jiho at understanding the Silent Ones. "They think in pictures and feelings," she explained to her parents. "You have to stop using words in your head to hear them." Slowly, the adults began to understand too. Yunji wrote down everything she learned. "Their language isn't just communication," she told Do-hyun one night. "It's sharing. When they talk to you, you experience their memories, their emotions, like they're your own." Even Taiwu changed. He spent long hours with On, the elder Silent One, learning about their history. "They've been on this planet for over 50,000 years, he told the other colonists. "They've seen other species come and go. They tried to warn all of them about the solar flares." One day, Jiho came to his parents with news. The star people say we can go back to the surface tomorrow. The radiation is almost gone. The next morning, the colonists climbed back to the surface through the crystal tunnels. When they emerged, they gasped at what they saw. The colony was damaged but not destroyed. Buildings needed repair. Equipment had failed, but the structure was still there. More surprising were the crystal formations that now grew among the colony buildings. They hadn't been there before. They glowed with soft light, as if welcoming the humans home. The star people made them while we were underground, Jai-Ho explained. They will help protect us if another flare comes. Tau stood in the center of the colony, looking around at the mix of human and alien structures. We have a lot of work to do, he said, but we're not alone anymore. Over the next few weeks, the Silent Ones came to the surface to help rebuild. They worked alongside humans, using their abilities to lift heavy objects and repair complex systems. For the first time in 20 years, they moved openly among the colonists, no longer hiding in the forest. 1 month after returning to the surface, Jai-Ho and his family sat on a hill overlooking the colony. New crystal buildings shone among the repaired metal structures. Humans and Silent Ones walked together through the streets. I never thought I would see this, Yunji said. 2 species learning to live together. The star people are happy, Jai-Ho said. They'd been alone for a long time. They missed having others to share with. Do-hyun put his arm around Jai-Ho. You made this happen, son. You listened when no one else could. Jai-Ho shook his head. Not just me. All the children. We weren't afraid to hear something new. He looked at his mother. The star people say children are natural bridges because their minds are still growing. A week later, Jai-Ho and Myre stood in a newly built crystal classroom. 20 human children and 5 young Silent Ones gathered around them. It was the first day of a new school, one where both species would learn together. Today, we'll learn how to share thoughts, Jai-Ho said to the class. The human children looked excited. The young Silent Ones moved gracefully, their inner light pulsing with what Jai-Ho now recognized as happiness. Outside the classroom, An and Yunji watched through the crystal wall. They were waiting for us to evolve, Yunji said, understanding coming from her new connection with An's thoughts. They thought it would take thousands of years before humans could communicate as they do. She felt An's agreement in her mind, along with his surprise and joy that it had happened so much sooner, thanks to a child's open mind. In the classroom, Jai-Ho looked up as if he could feel their thoughts. He smiled. The blue stones floated above his head, glowing brightly as he began to teach the children of 2 worlds how to truly understand each other. The Silent Ones had spoken their first words to a human child, and now that child was helping all humans learn to listen.